It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Friday, and I'm glad you made it. And for many conservatives out there, a glorious Friday that it is. Although people on the left are still melting down. And give me an idea of how I handle things. It's a little bit different. Whether something is good or bad, there's my initial reaction to it, and then I get over it. And then I move on with my life. So if the election had not gone the way I wanted it to go, I would be over it already, and I'd be moving on with my life to get things done. I just don't dwell on it, stuff like that. However, the meltdown on the left, it just continues. Wait until Inauguration Day. Oh, my God, that's going to be... All right, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So I pulled up two different stories for you to give an idea of how people handle things. First story is how not to handle things. Headline for you, Ivy League professors cancel classes so students can process Trump's shocking win. Now, again, this is the way you don't handle it. And it talks about some of the Ivy League schools out there that have students in total meltdown mode, which, by the way, a lot of young people did vote for Trump. If you're thinking, well, all the young people voted for... No, a lot of young people voted for Trump. But for those who didn't, especially those that have been indoctrinated by their liberal professors, they are in freak-out mode. And so counselors, in some cases, have been called in to help these people deal with it. And if you want to know what that looks like, get on social media and watch some of the videos of some of the meltdowns. Because we're talking about young people who are emotionally unstable. However, neat little headline here from Cowboy State Daily here in Wyoming, and I like this. Unlike other universities, the headline says, UW not offering therapy after Trump win. Oh, really? Well, it just shows you a different kind. And for that matter, I would bet if we went to most technical schools, let's go to vocational schools where people are learning some kind of a trade. Let's see how those students are handling it. I bet whether they wanted Trump to win or not, the next day they just showed up for class and got busy again. Because that's the kind of people that we're talking about here. It's how you handle it. If you get bad news, if you thought Trump's win was not bad news, was bad news for you, then again you should be able to get over it and move on with your life like within a day or two. Probably the next day. I'll give you the night to scream bloody murder. Then next morning, get up and get on with your life. All right, so here's what the story says. At the University of Washington School of Social Work, I'm going to read that again because you got to hear that again. At the University of Washington School of Social Work, students were invited Wednesday to Election Care, an event featuring puzzles, crafts, food, and Miss Mary will like this, and a dog to pet. See, now this is where, in my book, The Uncomplicated Life, one of the things I suggest to people as a test, is your problem a real problem? Because a lot of times people are in stress, and it's manufactured. There's not really anything bad going on, but you've invented it in your mind. And my answer is, well, if you're feeling stressed, and you're crying and breaking down, and I hand you a puppy, and suddenly you're smiling and giggling and playing with the puppy, then I guess you really didn't have a problem. But if I hand you a puppy and you hand the puppy back to me and say, I don't have time for this, now you have a real problem. You see the difference. So let's go back to, I got to read it again, University of Washington School of Social Work, where students were invited Wednesday to an election care event featuring puzzles, crafts, food, and a doggy to pet. Oh, I hope they feel better now. And one of its major university offerings nationwide to help students cope with election stress. Now, the University of Colorado Boulder invited its students to write poetry, color in coloring books. You see the mental state they're in. You want to go color in coloring books? For God's sakes, you're in college. Something stressful happens, let's go color in coloring books. Drink tea and enjoy aromatherapy and slime making. And Georgetown University's McCourt School of Public Policy opened up a Lego station. See, kids' toys again. A Lego station Tuesday for frazzled students, according to the New York Post. Meanwhile, University of Wyoming has seen none of that. Multiple sources confirmed Thursday, quote, "I am not aware of anything of this nature at UW," said Chad Baldwin, university spokesperson, told Cowboy State Daily. Multiple leaders of student groups said the same thing. And for the multi-partisan student group, which is Bridge UWYO, whose stated mission is to help people engage with others across the political spectrum, the plan isn't to offer a safe space, thankfully, thank God for that, but to have a lively discussion, which I'm in favor of. Yeah, okay, you didn't get the result that you wanted, and you really hate me because I did. You want to sit down and talk about that? That's like adults, no Lego games. Quote, "We're hosting a big discussion next week. It's going to be both panel and event discussion event," said the vice president and founder of the group. The group, who has invited other UW students, ranging from conservative-leaning, nonpartisan groups, Democrat groups. Quote, "Quite honestly, there isn't a lot of coping necessary that needs to be done for Wyoming students," he said. So in other words, even though he's offering this, Wyoming students, no matter who they voted for, are fine. They're doing just fine. He'd also noted that even the politically left-leaning UW students, they're used to living under GOP policies. They're in Wyoming, for Pete's sakes. So they knew whether Harris was elected or not, it wouldn't change any of that. Now, for the president of UW's libertarian-leaning yet nonpartisan group, Young Americans for Liberty, who spoke in the capacity of, he said, individuals not on behalf of the group. He said, we don't have a concept of coddling students. Okay, thank you. They don't have a policy of coddling anyone. Yes, something happened that you didn't like. You have a moment to scream bloody murder. Now get over it. Be an adult. Get back out there. All right, so many of the President-elect Trump's policies, it goes on to say, as they talk to different people about what their beliefs are. So one individual noting his group of students were for RFK. Okay, but as soon as RFK dropped out of the presidential race, their group just sort of folded, and they got on with their lives. If any safe spaces or therapeutic outlets are forming at UW, no one really knows about it. Maybe they're on social media. It said students' response have fallen into three categories. Students who appear to feel uncomfortable, students who are conservative and are quiet about it, okay? And then there's those who are a bit more vocal, but no one's really causing any trouble. The uncomfortable students seem to be organizing their own social support groups. In other words, they have friends that they can go talk to. They don't like what's happened, but they have friends. All right. So you see the difference in the way to handle this. Don't give them color. They're supposed to be adults by now. Don't give them coloring books and things like this. Morning, Rhiannon. Rhiannon in Fort Danger. I wonder if anyone thought to mention to these kids that Trump was in office once already. Yeah. Everything was fine. It really was. Chet Yoder. It was quiet Wednesday because they were shocked. Now they're panicking. You know, I think there is something to that. Just like there's the different stages of grief. In fact, I tell you what, I think I'll take a look at that next to see if there's a correlation here. You know, the different stages of grief, to see what happens. Coming up on 6:16, it's Wake Up Wyoming.
When you need to know quicker than the morning paper or the 5 o'clock news, you need Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Mornings on K2 Radio.
6:23 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Oh, it is open phones today. By the way, 888-97, what's the phone number? That's 888-97-WOODS. Morning, Hollywood. Hollywood is in Laramie. He said, and if you just joined me, I was talking about universities around the country that are offering Lego blocks and coloring books and therapy for young people who are just devastated by the election results. Meanwhile, University of Wyoming kids are just getting to class. And there are some offers of, hey, you want to get together and talk? But other than that, I mean, everybody seems to be doing just fine. So Hollywood, who's in Laramie, I haven't seen many normal students around our campus. I heard that a lot of them are not accustomed to disappointment. Okay, well, it seems to me like they're just getting, like I said earlier, when there's a technical school, a vocational school, okay, something disappointing happens, they just go back to class the next day because that's what they do. Chet and Yoder, didn't Oregon and Washington allow, he's asking if Washington and Oregon allow assisted suicide. No, but I tell you what, if they want to pack up and get out of the country, we're happy with that. I'm more than happy. And by the way, after the election results, I told you guys this yesterday, as soon as the election results were clear, a lot of people started Googling moving to Canada. And I have a story about that. I have a story. What does it actually cost to move to Canada? And you're going to love the requirements because Canada doesn't just let you in like we've been doing here in America. There are strict requirements. You're going to love when I get to that. But all right, I'd mentioned what are the stages of grief. Because, again, for me, see, I don't understand this. If something bad happens to me, and I've had bad things, really bad things happen in my life, and I go through my initial shock and reaction to it, and then I put that aside and I get busy. And that's it. We're all allowed that initial shock when something bad happens, but then put it aside and get busy. All right, well, why is it then our friends on the far left especially, I'm still watching people on social media screaming and in tears. Still. It's been a few days now. And well, the first stage of grief, and I did see this on a lot of television shows the night of the election, denial. The person has difficulty accepting the reality of the loss. They might act like everything is okay or pretend the loss is temporary. And I can honestly say, when it was clear that Trump had won, I had seen that with a lot of, especially pundits and so on television the first night. Then anger. Saw that too. I played some audio for you yesterday of people on social media, especially young people, but people on social media screaming mad. I mean, they would, whether it was TikTok or YouTube, whatever, there's Facebook, whatever they were doing, screaming mad. That's the anger. The next is going to be, now when I see bargaining, we will get to that because I don't think bargaining happens quite yet, although I do see happening next deflecting. It's watching people on the left come up with all sorts of different reasons as to why they think this happened. But they haven't yet actually focused on the real reason. Especially they're not looking at themselves, but they're not looking at the real reasons. This happened, Trump was elected because it's all your fault. You're stupid. You don't listen to them, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, at some point, depression. And I am watching people now get into that stage of depression where, in fact, Jimmy Kimmel, and I don't watch the Tonight Show. In many, many years, I haven't watched the Tonight Show. Jimmy Kimmel, during the opening monologue, started to cry. Actually started to cry. So, yeah, there's a lot of depression right now. Then there's acceptance. The person finally acknowledges and just learns to live with it. And that will happen at some point. But then I've held in reserve here the bargaining. The person may try to bargain with the situation. Or even with us. Okay, fine. Trump is in power. And the Republicans now have 53 seats in the Senate. 53. They got supermajority now. We'll see, but it's very likely they hold the House of Representatives too. So now you'll watch the Democrats show up and try to bargain with, okay, fine, you got all this power, but you need to pay attention to us too, And they'll try to bargain in such a way that we give up power. Just watch. I know that's going to happen because I've seen that happen before. So just wait for that to happen. Those are the stages we're going through right now. I still see a lot of depression out there at this point. Mostly I see the anger is over. There was a lot of screaming on day one and day two. We've reached the point now where I'm watching a lot of crying going on. I don't know when they get out of that stage, but at some point they will. All right. So, yeah, the stages of grief. I was just wondering, do the stages of grief, as they're listed out, actually work here? And I would think, yeah, they do. All right. Hang on. I have a lot of other news besides this. And at some point this morning, I'm going to break down the cost of actually leaving the United States and going to other countries. And even if they can, and the left is not going to like this, which means you're going to love it. Coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way. Update on your weather forecast. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Friday. Glad you made it. Phone lines are open. 888-97 Woods. It's 888-97 WOOD. So I do have one more thing. If you're just joining me, I was going through universities, colleges across the country that are offering counseling to kids and coloring books and Legos and a puppy to pet. Because you were just so stressed by what happened with the elections. Meantime, University of Wyoming and other technical and vocational schools, those kids just went back to class. They're fine. Some of them didn't like the results of the elections, but they're moving on. Well, get a load of this. California governor calls a special session to protect liberal policies from a Trump presidency. Oh, my gosh. Well, this is not going to go, especially because California does depend a lot on federal government money. I remember when Trump was president last time, they're still trying to build that bullet train in California. They still haven't got it done. And I forget what the numbers are now. I just remember the numbers for the bullet train. Oh, my Lord, has exceeded anything that we have ever imagined. And I knew it was going to be bad, but the original numbers that they offered up, this thing is way overboard, and they keep asking for more money from the feds. In fact, I even remember the Biden administration had turned down some money that was requested by California. But it's not just that. All right, here's what the story says. Sacramento, California Governor Gavin Newsom, a fierce critic of President Donald Trump, on Thursday called for lawmakers to convene a special session later this year to safeguard the state's progressive policies on climate change, reproductive rights, immigration ahead of another Trump presidency. The move, a day after the former president resoundingly defeated Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm glad they put that in there. Effectively reignited California's resistance campaign against conservative policies. So, okay. Quote, "The freedoms we hold dear in California are under attack." Your freedoms? California is about one of the least free states there is, but all right. Newsom, who reportedly has ambitions on the national stage, said in the statement, "California has faced this challenge before. We know how to respond. We are prepared to fight in the courts. We will do everything necessary to ensure Californians have the support and the resources they need to thrive." Problem is, California is not thriving. There's the problem with what he just said. California is not thriving, and people are leaving, businesses are leaving. But reading on. Newsom, basically what Newsom is saying, he's going to continue and maybe even ramp up policies that make more people leave. Newsom told the Associated Press that the governor and lawmakers are ready to Trump-proof Canada's state laws. Yeah, well, until Trump cuts off the money, and good luck with that. And his announcement Thursday called for the legislators to give the Attorney General's office more funding to fight federal challenges. California's move is part of a growing discussion among Democrat state officials across the country seeking to protect policies under Trump. In New York, their governor and attorney general and senior planner, they intend to have a strategy meeting. Our team will do whatever we have to do to identify any possible threats to these rights we hold dear in New York and for New Yorkers' rights. Again, people are fleeing New York to go to places where they actually do have rights. But all right. Massachusetts governor, who as state attorney general filed dozens of lawsuits against Trump during his first term, said they will have to see if he makes good on what he promised. And because he ran on Project 2025 and other things. Well, that's a lie because, as you know, Trump has never read Project 2025. That was a Heritage Foundation thing, which was misrepresented by the Democrats, and Trump never read it, and he didn't run on it. So that's a lie. But anyway, in Chicago, the Illinois governor said he's working on with other governors to find ways to bolster, and it talks about the list of things that they're worried that Trump might go after. So, okay. Well, they have, as governors of their own state, they have the right to go ahead and do that, and that's perfectly fine. And I'm sure they'll be fighting tooth and nail every step of the way. I just want to remind them that people are leaving their states in droves. Their states are in financial ruin. Their economies are in financial ruin, and people are packing up and leaving because they can't even afford to live there or do business under their bureaucracies. But I tell you what, you guys just keep doing what you're doing. You go right ahead and do that. And if you want to fight the Trump presidency, that is certainly your right to do so. By the way, a lot of the money that you guys get from the federal government, not all of it, but a lot of it's going to go away. If Trump does what he says he's going to do. So these people are really not going to be happy. But, okay, I don't really care if they are or not. All right, coming up on 642, we have a extended weather forecast from Don Day. And those people that are in Colorado and southern Wyoming should pay attention to this. 642 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
It's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Frank Gambino. So, Frank, it's really early in the morning here. People are just having their breakfast while they're listening to us right now, which is the perfect time for me to tell you a really gross story.
Why would you do that? But you know what? Since I've only been up for like 15 minutes, might as well just tell me.
Really? You get it over with? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, as I'm driving down to Cheyenne, I come up behind. A lot of cattle are being trucked around right now. It's that time you get cattle to market, right? Yeah, you come up behind one of those cattle trucks on the highway, watch out, because sometimes they go to relieve themselves, and out the side of the truck it comes. Well, yeah, you see all don't drive too close to the back end.
Yeah. Oh no, or the sides too. Sometimes,
Oh my God, yeah. So what I was noticing is, first off, I should not drive too close to the back end, which I don't anyway, but still give a lot of extra room there. Mm-hmm. But then I wanted to pull up and pass one of these trucks, and I had to back off because of what was spraying out across the passing lane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yes. And someone told me, if that stuff gets on your windshield, good luck getting it off.
Oh, I was going to say, okay. The windshield wiper fluid doesn't work with that material?
Yes. No, apparently not. So I get to Chugwater, where I always have that burger with some friends of mine, and one of them is a rancher who makes some little extra money on the side this time of year, driving truck and bringing cattle to market and so on. Mm-hmm. And he said, he was pulling into a neighborhood, let's say, and it was a really sharp turn. And as he's making the turn, and he's in the right lane, everything that was on the floor sloshed off and went out into the left lane, which must have made for some really slick driving. Now, you add to that today the fact that it's freezing out there, which means not only does all that stuff all over the road, but it's frozen.
So much for that morning bagel,
That's done. No, some people are taking a look. They just push their breakfast away and go, can't. I just can't. I just want to keep you. Just remember that these trucks are all over the place this time of year. And when you see one of them, give them a lot of extra room on the highway. Trust me, and be very careful when you go to pass one. See if you can look at the cows through, the holes there. Does anyone look like they're about to cut loose? If so, don't pass them yet. Trust me. Go with sports.
All righty. The state high school volleyball tournament started yesterday at the Ford Center in Casper in the quarterfinal round in 4A. Kelly Walsh beat Cheyenne East in 3 straight sets. Thunder Basin over Star Valley in 3 straight sets. Sheridan, in a great match with Green River, won that in three sets to 2, 23-25, 25-15, 25-20, 24-26, and 19-17. And Laramie, the defending champion, beat Natrona in 4 sets, 25-18, 24-26, 25-19, and 25-20. So, in the consolation round at 1 o'clock, Cheyenne East will take on Star Valley. Green River will take on Natrona at 2:30. In the semifinal round, Kelly Walsh against Thunder Basin at 4:30, and Sheridan will take on Laramie at 6 p.m. In 3A, Cody over Rawlins, 3 sets to none. Wheatland over Pinedale, 3 sets to none. Powell over Torrington, 3 sets to 1. And Douglas defeated Lovell, 3 sets to 1. So, in the semifinal round in 3A, Cody against Wheatland at 4:30. Powell against Douglas at 6 o'clock. In 2A, Sundance over Rocky Mountain, 3 sets to none. Tongue River beats Shoshone, 3 sets to none. Pine Bluffs over Thermopolis, 3 sets to 1. And Bighorn over Big Piney, 3 sets to none. Sundance and Tongue River at a 2A semifinal at 4:30. Pine Bluffs and Bighorn at a semifinal at 6 o'clock. In 1A, Little Snake River over Lusk, 3 sets to none. Upton beat Encampment in a tremendous match, 3 sets to 2, 25-9, 22-25, 21-25, 25-12, and 15-7. Defending champion Cokeville over Lingle, 3 sets to none. And Southeast in a tremendous match beat Riverside in 5 sets, 25-22, 25-20, 18-25, 25-27, and 16-14. So Little Snake River and Upton in the first semifinal for 1A, and then Cokeville and Southeast at 6 p.m. in the other semifinal. The championship matches for the state high school volleyball tournament will be tomorrow at 4:30 at the event center. And in high school football, yes, it's the semifinal round. Tonight in 4A, it'll be Cheyenne East at Campbell County. Cheyenne East comes in at 8-2. Campbell County is 9-1. Tomorrow, Sheridan, the defending champion, will take on Natrona. Sheridan is 10-0, and Natrona is 7-3. In 3A, Riverton will be at Star Valley tonight. Riverton 8-2, Star Valley 10-0, and Douglas will host Cody tonight. Cody is 8-1, Douglas is 7-2. In 2A, Cokeville will be at Mountain View this afternoon. Cokeville is 6-3, Mountain View is 9-1. Lovell at 7-2 will be at Bighorn today, and defending champion Bighorn, and they're 9-0. That'll be at 4 p.m. In 1A, 6-man, Saratoga travels to Pine Bluffs. Saratoga is 6-3, Pine Bluffs is 8-1. Big Piney will be on the road to Lingle Fort Laramie tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And Lingle is 9-0, and Big Piney is 5-3. Finally, in 1A, 6-man, DuBois will be at Snake River this afternoon. DuBois is 5-3, LSR is 8-0, and Encampment will be at Burlington, and both teams are 7-1. That's it in sports.
Wow, it's going to be a busy weekend, but you don't have far to go.
No. And then there's always girls swimming, state swimming. The 3A meet at Cheyenne East will wrap up today, starting at 10 o'clock. They'll start the finals there, and as soon as they're done, that'll be the 4A preliminary round, and then the 4A finals will be tomorrow.
Jeez, is anyone going to get any sleep this weekend?
Oh, I got a little bit. Not much, about 5 hours, maybe 4.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You sound grumpy. Okay.
Yeah.
Damon.
The time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Friday, and I'm glad you made it. It's open phones, by the way. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. That's all fine by me. All right. Yesterday, I wrote an article, and I was telling you guys about the article that I wrote that has to do with energy in America under a Trump administration and energy in Western states like Wyoming, since we are such a big energy state. What it would mean for us if Trump is going to do what he said he's going to do, if he's able to do, which I think most of it he can. Now, immediately for wind and solar on the stock market, they took a massive blow. The moment it looked like Trump was going to win, stocks just crumbled for wind and solar. And those same organizations, the companies out there that are putting up wind and solar across the United States and even in places like Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, and so on, they have to worry. Because so much of what they do is on subsidies from the federal government. Money that the feds, by the way, which is supposed to be your tax money, they don't have. They've been borrowing and printing money. So they don't have the money to do this, which I've been saying for years. At some point, this crumbles and collapses because we can't keep this up. We don't have the money to do this. Well, and then we come along with a president who wants to end a lot of these subsidies, and so that could really change the look, not just for what has been proposed to be built, but what has already been built. Because a lot of these things continue to exist because of subsidies. Again, wind and solar, it's not clean, it's not green, it's not affordable, it's not reliable, it's not sustainable. When the subsidies run out, many wind and solar farms end up going out of business because, well, they were surviving on the subsidies. They were not making money. Take the subsidies away and they fall apart. Meantime, coal, gas, and oil, they don't need subsidies, and they don't really get them. A lot of people are confused about the difference between a subsidy and a tax break. Here's the difference. If a company does business and earns money, honestly earns money, that money belongs to them. It's theirs. And if they want to do things like fix things that need to be repaired, buy new equipment, hire people and expand the company, things like that, they'll get a tax break so they can do those things, which is good for the company, good for the economy. That's not a subsidy. That money doesn't belong to the government, doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the people who earned it. That's a tax break. A subsidy is when government comes along and takes money from us or borrows it or prints it and then gives it to a particular company. That's a subsidy. So coal, gas, and oil traditionally don't get subsidies. They get tax breaks. Huge difference between the two. Now, having said all of that yesterday, again, I'm going to go to a Cowboy State Daily article here. Trump signals huge, as he likes to say, support for oil and gas during victory speech. Wyoming industry leaders are thrilled. The story says in December 2020, Kirkwood Resources bought and paid for 7 oil and gas leases on almost 2,300 acres for $13,047. That was just before Joe Biden came on board. Those leases, along with dozens of other leases that Wyoming oil and gas industry collectively paid $7 million for, have yet to be released 4 years later. And you were told, oh, no, these people can go out and drill whenever they want. They have these leases. Yeah, but you're not giving them the permit to go work. So once again, the Biden administration was lying. Hang on, let me go back to the story in just a minute. Nancy is in Cheyenne. She's changing the subject. She wants to talk about prairie dogs. Hello, Nancy.
Hello. Say, when did prairie dogs become an endangered species?
I don't think that they are. Why?
Well, I don't either. But it seems like so many people want to save them. But, you know, every kid in the West learned how to shoot by shooting prairie dogs.
Yeah. I would think that if you go take a shot, let's just take a prairie dog town. You don't even have to aim. Just take a shot. You're going to hit one or two with one bullet.
That's right. I was about 9 when I started shooting them.
Yeah.
But another comment I wanted to make was about these young people in college having a nervous breakdown over Trump winning.
Right.
Wouldn't it be a gas if he brought back the draft?
Oh,
They'd
my
probably
God.
shoot themselves.
Oh, my God. Well, you know, they I don't think that the ones that are having meltdowns would be good aim, so we're probably okay with that.
Good point. Well, stay warm and get your snow shovel ready.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. And by the way, Don Day is going to be on at 7:45. Those people in southeastern Wyoming are catching part of what Colorado is getting right now, so we'll talk about that, speaking of the snow shovel. James is in Casper. Morning, James.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
I heard on the news that you guys just played something about EX2 or EV2, something where vehicles are going to start talking to each other, and they're going to be testing it here in Wyoming.
Okay.
Personally, I don't think that's a good idea because that just gives the government more control.
Okay. Which I think is another reason to go ahead and buy an older vehicle, if that's what you want, without all sorts of technology in it. Now, I think I'll have to look at the article. Part of what they want to do is make sure that vehicles, by talking to each other, don't run into each other to reduce accidents. But, you're thinking about how they do it?
I'm thinking that no matter how they do it,
yeah,
if the government is involved, they're going to find a way to control that vehicle one way or another, and you might as well go back to horse and buggy.
Right. See, while I do, on the one hand, I really do admire all of the technology that they're able to put into vehicles these days. On the other hand, though, I'm driving an older vehicle that's even the stick shift, and I love it. And so as long as I can keep doing that, I will. Not because I'm becoming an old fuddy-duddy, which at some point I probably will be, but just because I enjoy driving things myself without having all of the computer control doing things for me. Like, for example, self-driving cars. It sounds really interesting to me, especially if I'm going on a cross-country trip. But, I prefer driving the car myself. I kind of like it.
Well, it gets, back to, like, the autopilot in an airplane.
Yeah.
You still got to have a pilot behind the controls, even though the autopilot is doing it right.
Yeah, the pilot's got to be there monitoring everything just in case. And it's already been shown as much advancement as they've made in self-driving technology, self-driving cars still get into accidents just like people do. So, yeah, you have to have someone monitoring. No, you can't hit your autopilot in your car and go to sleep on the interstate. If a cop sees you doing that, big trouble, which is another thing that I'm afraid of, by the way. You're supposed to be awake monitoring.
Exactly, but this thing of whether the cars are talking to each other, it's just one step closer to the police being able to monitor, and if there's anything they want to bust you on because you're putting out too much CO2 or
well, here's one. Wait, I got one for you. I know that this is a thing with certain cars now. Police come up behind you. They want to pull you over for something. They can shut off your vehicle.
That's OnStar.
Yes, with the newer vehicles, things like that, they can just go. Now, that is helpful if somebody steals your car or somebody is legitimately trying to outrun the cops because they committed some kind of a crime. But I think the rest of us would rather not have that.
Well, basically don't buy a GM car because they're the ones putting OnStar in.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it. So you can do what these two just did, both Nancy and James. And by the way, I like the spread that we have here. So Nancy was in Cheyenne, James is in Casper. We got people all the way up in Gillette and way down in Colorado and over into Nebraska and South Dakota listening. I mean, it just spreads across Wyoming. So 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. That's just fine. 7:15. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Now, you can do what Nancy and James did. They just interrupt me to change the topic. I always give you some open phones every single day, but on Friday it's the entire program. So if you want to change the subject, interrupt me. Fine by me. 888-97-WOODS is the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. So I'm actually going to pick up on what James was saying, because I know that you probably had enough about the Trump talk for now. The libs are still trying to get over it, but we can go on to other topics here. So thanks for that, James. Let's talk technology. I really do love the latest state-of-the-art technology. I keep up with it. I think technology is fascinating. I love using it. Having said that, there's a time and a place for it as well. There's times that I look at something and I think, I'd rather do this the old way. There's other times I go, no, I want technology to take over and do this for me. Depends on what we're talking about. Now, since James brought up driving, I do enjoy when I take a look at today's modern vehicles. There's so many things in there. I mean, the navigation alone is incredible. And I like when I'm going somewhere, even if I'm going somewhere familiar, I like having the maps up because it gives me all sorts of data. Data I don't need, but I like. If I'm going someplace unfamiliar, I probably need that data. And that shows me all sorts of things like what my fuel mileage is and how far I can drive on a tank of gas and where gas stations are, by the way, that I can pull over to, and other services from hotels to meals to whatever I need. It's just all right there. And then as far as what to listen to, for those people who like to listen to different things, it uses the apps on your phone these days. But you want podcasts, you want radio. I mean, this program here is a podcast when I'm done live on the air. So if you want to listen live or listen later, you can go ahead and do that. There's all sorts of things that's available on that computer screen. It's incredible technology. And when I hear people say, they don't build cars like they used to, they do, and they build them better. Today's vehicles are much more fuel efficient, and you get a lot more horsepower over a much smaller engine, out of a much smaller engine. So today's cars are remarkably efficient compared to the way engines used to be way back then. Also safer. Many people don't realize when you take a look at one of those tiny little smart cars, which I always hated the name because smart cars were really, I can get you a better car than that for a lot less money. Smart cars were very overpriced. I can get you a four-door, four-cylinder car that would be safer, more economical, better for the environment. And it's a bigger car that you can fit 4 people into, right? But what people a lot of times don't misunderstand about a smart car, they look at it and they think, boy, you get into an accident in that, you're dead. Probably not. Because when they built the thing, if that car gets into a wreck, the car will be an accordion, a mess, but whoever's inside is going to walk away because the car is designed to sacrifice itself for the people inside. So today's safety, you look at a car in a wreck today and you tend to think, oh my God, look at what's left of the car. Boy, they just build crap these days. No, they're building them better because the car is designed to sacrifice. Even a bigger car is designed to sacrifice itself for you. Crumple zones, airbags, all sorts of things like that. So today's vehicles are much better, but they're putting so much stuff into it. Here's your heated seats, and on and on and on it goes. Every time I see a car commercial, they talk about all the gizmos and gadgets they have in there. Some of it's really remarkable, like to help you so you don't rear end the vehicle in front of you. It has automatic braking. I even like when I drive down, let's say if I'm driving around Wyoming in one of the radio show vehicles, it tells me when other cars are around me in my blind spot. If I want to change lanes and there's a car in my blind spot, I know it before I even try to do it because my vehicle is telling me, hey, there's a car over there. And some vehicles wouldn't let me make the turn. In fact, now this car that I'm driving now, which is the company vehicle, I turned it off because I hate the beeping. But if I start to wander out of my lane on the interstate, it warns me. And some cars will even turn you back onto your lane if you choose to engage that option. I don't like it, though, because a lot of times I'm going through construction zones and it's beeping like crazy because I'm crossing all of these lines. But you see what they're doing. They're adding all of this marvelous technology. Now, some of it's really good. Some of it I look at and I think, for me, I can't answer for everybody else. My personal vehicle is an older vehicle, and it's a manual transmission, a stick shift, which means the odds of it being stolen are greatly reduced. But I like it. I like driving a manual transmission older vehicle. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles in it, as much as I admire all that technology, which is why when I bought that car, I got it really dirt cheap. Not just because it's an older vehicle. I got it dirt cheap because it doesn't have all of that stuff in it. I think for car makers today, a smart move and some vehicle makers are doing this. A few are. If they really want to make money in today's market, build stripped-down cars that don't have all the bells and whistles. Because there's people who would love to buy a car at an affordable price. And the way to reduce the cost is to not include all of that technology, but just make it a basic car. Can you imagine buying a car that actually has hand crank windows? Don't think that exists anymore, but imagine that. Imagine buying a car that didn't have today's modern computer screen and all this other technology they pack in. One time I was talking about vehicles on this program, and I got a gentleman who called and said, well, how are you supposed to save money on a vehicle? You go to buy a new pickup truck, it's going to cost you like $45,000, $50,000 for a base model. And my answer was, why are you buying one of those? Don't buy one of the new vehicles with all of the stuff in it. Buy something older with less technology. And there are a couple of companies, I think Toyota is one of them, that are building pickup trucks, for example, and cars, that are just stripped down so they're cheaper, which is how I prefer to do it. There's times that I love modern technology, and there's times, in fact, James even mentioned airplanes, so you know I like to fly. And I really do enjoy getting into an airplane that has all of today's gizmos and gadgets and technologies and autopilots and so on. But what that takes away from me is my ability to do what I'm there for. I want to fly the plane. I don't want a computer flying it. I want to fly the plane. That's why I went through all that trouble to learn, to study, so I could do that, so I could fly the plane. I don't want some machine doing it. So, and I do the same thing with today's automobiles. I love them. I want them to continue to push today's technology. What they're doing is absolutely amazing. And yet when I get behind the wheel of a car, I want to drive it. I don't want the machine doing it for me. Thanks for the topic, James. Coming up on 7:30, local news coming your way, an update on your weather forecast. 7:45, we're going to have Don Day on with us. Now, for those people who are in southern Wyoming, especially southeastern Wyoming, you're getting some of that Colorado winter storm, and Don Day is going to explain that to you. Coming up at 7:45, it's Wake Up Wyoming.
Hey, Monday.
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, 888-97 was the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. Fine by me at your local station. You just heard the weather forecast for your area. Now, 7:45 is when I always have a conversation daily with Don Day from Day Weather. This would be especially important to people who are in southeast Wyoming because Colorado is really getting pummeled by a pretty good storm right about now. They're going to have to put up with it for a few days. Don Day will explain that. Those in southeastern Wyoming especially, you're right on the edge of that. Those folks listening over in Nebraska, you're going to get a piece of this when it starts moving up and to the northeast. So Don will tell us about that at 7:45. Now, real quick, the other story that I was on. So talking about energy, the Wyoming Petroleum Association really excited about things that Donald Trump has to say. So one quote here, "We have more liquid gold than any other country in the world," said Donald Trump. "We have more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. Bobby, stay away from the liquid gold. Other than that, we have a great time, Bobby." I have no idea who Bobby was, but you know the way Trump talks. So those comments made the people at the Wyoming Petroleum Association really happy. It's going to be interesting to see, said Petroleum Association of Wyoming president, was a vice president. He was talking to Cowboy State Daily. He said, "We're still waiting for the results from the White House, but obviously Trump's presidency and Republicans taking back the Senate, possibly the House, could be good news for Wyoming oil and gas industry." So they're really excited about that. And he says, and having people like John Barrasso in the Senate, that's definitely good for us. And again, quote, "The Biden administration, from the very beginning, he said that one of his goals was to eliminate drilling on federal lands." And, oh, by the way, our strategic petroleum reserve, Biden kept digging into that, sucking oil out of there. because he wanted to lower the cost of gasoline across the country, which has some effect, but not much. Well, Biden never replenished that. So our strategic petroleum reserve is way down. Now, remember the purpose of that reserve. Should we find ourselves at war, we have enough oil in reserve that we'll be okay. We can go ahead and fight that war and defend the nation. That's why that's there. That is not there, as Biden did, and past presidents have done as well. Oh, the cost of gasoline too high? Here, we'll go ahead and take our strategic reserve. That's not what it's there for. And some people worry that it might take a while to replenish that supply. I don't really think, I think that's pessimistic, that it should take that long. Because as Trump said, we have plenty in this country. And one thing that I do think the government should fill back up after Biden is that strategic reserve. Let's get busy on that, because that is something that we do need. There's always a threat out there, and in the past few years, you've seen lots of those threats. So that strategic reserve needs to be replenished. And then as for the rest of it, when it comes back to drill, baby, drill, a lot of this has to be in just letting the free market do its thing. Let those on the left scream and yell about it. We've just got to let the free market handle our energy, not government, like the Biden administration was trying to do by pushing electric vehicles on you, which it turns out most people are not really. There are some people who want electric vehicles, and I'm okay if you want to buy one, but without subsidies and tax breaks, because I don't get subsidies and tax breaks for buying a car, a regular internal combustion engine. You want an electric car? That's fine. You have to do the same thing I do. And if it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, that's your business. I shouldn't have to pay for it because you're being subsidized. It shouldn't work that way. So that's something Trump wants to get rid of, is subsidies for things like that. And he says, anyway, turn it back over to the free market. So let's do that. And that would mean also not putting charging stations all over the country for electric vehicles that are funded by the government. If we're going to put charging stations all over the country, let it happen, as I've been saying for years, organically, because they're needed and somebody thinks they can make money out of it. The same way we build gas stations. Somebody looks at a site and thinks, if I put a gas station there, I could make a lot of money. And they do. They put it there and they make good money doing it. Let's go ahead and put charging stations out there if there's actually a market for it. If there's no market for it, no charging stations. Let the free market figure this out. Now, again, I know that's going to drive people on the left crazy, but there are people who like to force their ideas on you, whether you want to do it or not. And they hate the fact that you're not smart enough to make decisions the way they want you to make decisions. So they have to force it on you. Well, that's not who's going to be in charge for the next 4 years anyway. So whole different ball game here, which I think will be good for the energy industry. But trust me, folks, when I tell you, it's not going to be as easy to dismantle what Biden did as you're hoping it will be. I think Trump can get it done, but it's going to take a little more work than you might think. 7:42. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Listen to Glenn Woods anywhere you roam with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Okay, Don, I'm here in Cheyenne with you. And I'm noticing we are right on the edge of what Colorado's going through, and I shudder to think about what Colorado's going through. Did we get him? Okay. Waiting to see if we can get a hold of Don Day from Day Weather. So while Mary's working on that, he is on, it says. Okay. So you got to find the right slide pot to bring him up, perhaps, over there. Make sure that's all connected. You there, Don? Okay, Mary will figure that out in just a minute. What's happening is there is a Huge. I have his pot up. I will try to call him again. Sometimes that line does drop out. No, what's happening is a big storm hitting there in Colorado right now, and it's pretty good size. And it'll be there for a while. And that's part of what's helped working on southeast Wyoming right now. Let me know if you've got them again, Mary. That is bringing up some cold weather. I'm here in Cheyenne right now looking out the window. And it's just icy and overcast and just kind of blah out there right now. And that also, for those people who are over in places like Nebraska, could affect you a little bit later on this weekend as that system, it's a low-pressure system, slowly starts to work its way up and out. And that's part of the problem that we're having right now with that system that just doesn't want to go away. Did we get Don on yet? Nope, seem to have lost him. Okay, so that system, for those people have been asking me whether that was going to affect further north, and I don't think so. If you're up in areas like Casper and so on, you may get a little edge of this during the course of the weekend, but I would say for the most part, no. You're probably just going to get, again, a little bit out of this, maybe a little bit of wet, but for the most part, no. It's something that southeast Wyoming and Nebraska has to deal with. And again, it just is not going to move for a while in the Colorado area. It stays there and dumps a record amount of snow, and not just in the mountains, but in the plains area as well. I tell you what, since we're having a problem with that, let's just go ahead and go over to Frank Gambino, who's been waiting by. Frank, I found something that I have liked it now, and I'm going to have to start following the National Sarcasm Society.
Oh, this is a relatively new thing?
No, not at all.
No. It's probably sarcasm has been for thousands of years.
Yes. The National Sarcasm Society has a sign that says National Sarcasm Society, like we need your support.
We don't.
Yeah, see?
Why support them?
Okay.
Here's some sarcasm. You're on your own, pal.
Yes, I follow them online. World's Deadliest Weapon, and it shows a trailer hitch and also that piece of your bed that sticks out when you're trying to change the sheets on the mattress and so on.
Yes, and that's painful.
Yeah, very big. Okay. I'm crazy. Okay, now I got to ask you this, because they did put this on the National Sarcasm Society website. It shows a whole bunch of Little Debbie treats and stuff like that in your grocery store, right?
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or do none of these taste good anymore? What about you?
You know what? They don't. I don't even think they really did before.
Then why do we eat so many of them?
Were they cheap?
I don't know. We used to eat those like crazy.
Well, maybe it was the parents went to the grocery store and said, you know what, that's about 50% cheaper than the rest of the stuff. That's what we're buying.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my take. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, see, National Cigars. Alrighty then. I'm a bounce. Yeah. That. Okay. Some of these I have to show you the picture of. Okay. There's a school bus, and the school bus, I've seen this in Florida, has been converted into a big pickup truck where they transport. No, this is a thing in Florida. I used to follow these all the time, where they fill them full of watermelons. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So this one says, I found a use for those math problems that they gave us in school.
Finally.
So, yes. As you're driving down the road. Now, for those people who don't know, I want you to picture taking a school bus. And just behind the driver, cut the top off where the windows are and make a long pickup truck out of it.
That works,
now,
yeah.
Fill it full of watermelons. And now you've got a way to transport your watermelons to market. And it actually works. But I never thought of the idea, wow, so how many watermelons can you fit in the back of a school bus? Solve for that.
Oh, boy. And how many do you think there is? Maybe 100, 200?
You know, I flunked that class, Frank.
You know what? When I was in high school, I had to take, algebra, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the hell do we need algebra for? Not in my life, and I never have. And I failed.
Okay.
I can barely.
You're still not using it.
No.
I thought you would use more math in sports.
I do, but now that I have my phone, it does it for me.
Yeah, okay. Go with sports.
All right, the state high school volleyball tournament resuming this afternoon at the Ford Center in Casper with consolation round play and semifinal round play later on this afternoon starting at 4:30. In yesterday's first round action in 4A, Kelly Walsh, the number one seed from the West, beat Cheyenne East in 3 straight. Laramie, the number one seed from the West, defeated Natrona in 3 sets to 1. Sheridan defeated Green River in a great match in 5 sets, 23-25, 25-15, 25-20, 24-26, and 19-17. And then Thunder Basin over Star Valley in 3 straight sets. So in the consolation round at 1 p.m., Cheyenne East will take on Star Valley in a loser-out game. Green River versus Natrona at 2:30. Then in the semifinal round, Kelly Walsh versus Thunder Basin at 4:30 at the Ford Center. And Sheridan will take on Laramie at 6 p.m. In 3A, Cody, the number one seed from the West, beat Rollins in 3 straight sets. Douglas, the number one seed from the East, defeated Lovell in 4 sets. Powell over Torrington 3 sets to 1, and Wheatland over Pinedale 3 sets to none. So in the semifinal round at 4:30, Cody versus Wheatland at 4:30. That's going to be a pretty good match. And then Powell versus Douglas at 6, so that's going to be a good match too. In 2A, all the East teams won their first round matches over the West. Sundance over Rocky Mountain, 3 sets to none. Tongue River over Shoshone, 3 sets to 1. Pine Bluffs beat Thermop, 3 sets to 1. And Bighorn over Big Piney, 3 sets to none. In the semifinal round for 2A, Sundance versus Tongue River at 4:30. And then Pine Bluffs will take on Bighorn at 6. In 1A, very, very competitive, with all the teams having more than 20 wins entering the tournament. Little Snake River over Lusk, 3 sets to none. Upton beat Encampment, 3 sets to 2 in another terrific match. Cokeville, the defending champion, over Lingo Fort Laramie, 3 sets to none, and Southeast over Riverside in another terrific match in 1A, 3 sets to 2. Incredible. Little Snake River and Upton in one semifinal at 4:30, and then Cokeville versus Southeast at 6 p.m. in the other semifinal. Then coming up tomorrow, there'll be 3rd and 4th place matches during the day, and the championship matches in all 4 classes of the state volleyball tournament will begin at 4:30 at the Ford Center. High school football, it's the semifinal round of all 5 classifications in Wyoming. In 4A, there'll be one game tonight as Campbell County will host Cheyenne East. Campbell County is coming into that game with a record of 9-1, and Cheyenne East is 8-2. Sheridan will take on Natrona, and tomorrow at 1 p.m., Sheridan is 10-0, and Natrona is 7-3. We'll be running down all those scores in volleyball and in football today and tomorrow on WyoPreps.com.
I think the only sport you're not playing this weekend is golf.
No, there'll be none of that, at least not here. No.
Yeah, that's about the only thing I can think of there, Frank, because you got everything else going.
It's to the max.
All right, coming up. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. And Jackson Hole, Wyoming wants to secede from the union after Trump was elected. Gosh, true story, I swear. Next hour on the program with your phone calls, 888-97 Woods. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Monday.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number to get involved, 888-97 Woods. That's 888-97-WOODS. And it is open phones all the way today on Friday, especially for those people who want to either gloat or cry about the recent presidential election. Either way. Now, I got some heartbreaking news for you. Sorry to say. Let's go back to the recent Olympics. That young lady who competed for Australia in breakdancing, she was so incredibly bad, even though she said she worked hard at that routine, which I doubt, but she was so incredibly bad that this Halloween, I saw people dressing up in my own town, dressed up skeletons like her and posed them in her breakdancing positions, which I don't even think was really breakdancing. It was just that bad. Headline, Olympic breakdancer Ray Gunn. That's what she went by. That's a lot like for those people who watch Guardians of the Galaxy. Remember the character Taserface? he picked the name for himself, Taserface, because he thought it was just a badass name. But all it did was make people laugh. Like, what, you got tasers in your face? How does that work? Well, anyway, her name was Ray Gun. Same kind of an effect. She's no longer competing after all of the international backlash. I know, right? I wanted more memes. I wanted more dance poses out of her. I wanted her in the next Olympics. Which, by the way, she was so bad, the judges gave her a 0. All of them. So, okay, here's the story. And by the way, she's 37 years old. Rachel Gunn, get it? Ray Gunn, was not given any points during the event, but she did get a lot of criticism, the story said. Oh, poor girl. She has since made a big decision regarding her style of, let's put in air quotes, dancing. I'm not going to compete anymore. I don't think that... Was that dancing or was that some kind of a seizure? Because I really wanted someone to go out and help her. Like, we need medics when she was out there dancing. She says, I was going to keep competing for sure, but that seems really difficult for me now to approach this battle. Okay, image shows her during the competition doing some move described as kangaroo hopping. You've seen that one. Okay, so, and here's a big, I'm going to have to save this. Retired, Rachel Ray Gun retires from breakdancing, and everybody went, yeah, oh. She says, yeah, I mean, I still dance, I still break. Well, you're breaking anyway. I don't know if you call it dancing. But, it's like in my living room with my partner, and it's really upsetting. I just don't have any control over how people see me or what I was doing. I don't think you have any control over your body. But anyway, following her performance, Ray Gun said, I worked my butt off preparing for the Olympics, truly. Okay, maybe she did. She just doesn't know what dancing is, or especially breakdancing. Maybe that's it. See, I don't know how to break dance, so I don't. See how that works? Okay. Anyway, in September, Ray Gun said during an interview with Australia's Channel 10, she was sorry for the backlash her performance brought on the breakdancing community, and I would bet on her nation as well. The article noted she lost all 3 of her matches, and again, in each case, just scored a 0. How bad do you have to be that the judges give you an absolute 0 on that? Now, let's go back to Wyoming for this next story. I told Ms. Mary when she got to work this morning that I'm very proud of this one. Headline: Jackson, Wyoming, to secede from the Union. Well, no, I was thinking about this. I mean, there's all sorts of people who are saying that they were going to leave the country if Trump was elected. By the way, in just a little bit, I'm going to give you how much does it actually cost to leave the country. And can you? This you're going to love. For those people who laugh at those, say, I'm going to leave the country, please do. And to actually do it, how much does it cost, and will you be able to? Can you? How difficult is it to get to other countries? Here in America, we're just letting people in. But all right, to Jackson Hole. I started my article by saying at the very top of it, this is a satirical piece meant for entertainment purposes, so if you don't have a sense of humor, move on. Some people, I write stuff like this, some people get it, and some people look at it and go, what the hell is that? Well, it's satire. Nearly all of Teton County voted for Kamala Harris. After Trump's landslide win, there is talk of seceding and declaring their own country. Then I show the political map, which shows that Teton County is surrounded by a sea of red. Nebraska, well, of course, there's Wyoming, of course. Nebraska, the Dakotas, Montana, Idaho, Utah. Yeah. No matter where, except for Colorado down there, it's all a sea of red around them. They are boxed in. Thankfully, said the mayor of Jackson Hole, we have enough money to do what we want. And thankfully, they're also surrounded by mountains. So what they're planning to do is they have enough money for an army. Now, if you're thinking, well, with billions of dollars, they can go ahead and buy tanks and airplanes and mercenaries. No, not that kind of arm. Lawyers. So already, corporate jets and fleets of BMWs are arriving in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, as they get ready to put together their own Declaration of Independence and just declare Jackson Hole a country. Let's not forget, there is a country that's nothing but rich people. It's one of the smallest countries on the planet. Rich people love to go there. It's a tiny little island nation. That's essentially what Jackson Hole would be doing, just to get out of the Trump administration there. They now, and they're going to be very careful about who can move there. For example, there were some Hollywood millionaires that are worth about, like $5 million that wanted to move to Jackson Hole. And they were told no, that they couldn't do it. Because what are you going to do with like $5 million in Jackson Hole? You're going to buy yourself a mere 10-bedroom house with 8 bathrooms? Although in Jackson Hole, I doubt you can get that much, considering the price of real estate there. And that would probably, if you arrived with like $5 million and you wanted to buy a house in Jackson Hole, you'd probably be buying a single-wide trailer. And they just can't have that. That's the way prices are in Jackson Hole. So the mayor of Jackson Hole is getting together with the city council and Teton County commissioners as they find a way to declare Jackson Hole just their own country and secede from the entire nation, which they think, why move to Canada when you've got that kind of a view right there in your own backyard? And let's see, I-80 John says, Glenn, my parental grandparents migrated from Canada. I qualify for Canadian citizenship. Can I sell that to a liberal? I think you probably can, and we're going to have to find a way to do it. Now, on that note, for those people who want to leave the country, this is what I have coming up next for you. It is not as easy as you think. And it's really going to upset those people who want to leave the country, especially since here in America, right now you can just walk right in and you're just a city. That's it. Just walk in, get whatever freebies you want. You want to go to Canada? You think it's easy? What do other countries do? Some liberals are about to find out. 8:15 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
Wyoming. Okay, so to my little satirical bit that I wrote that Jackson Hole's going to secede from the Union, they certainly have the money to do so. And they're not bringing in an army of tanks and planes and stuff like that. It's an army of lawyers to do it. And they certainly have the money. To that, Jeff and Casper said, glad they want to leave. Jackson hasn't been a part of Wyoming for a while. Tess in Wheatland, morning Tess, she said, yes, they declare it their own country. Then we discover it and claim it for America and turn it into a reservation. And they and then they could be happy. They could declare the mayor a chief. I like where she's going with this. And live off the government just like they've always wanted. Thanks, Tess. I appreciate that. So, you want to leave the U.S., do you? And they're not going to do it like they always don't do it. They want to pack up and leave. We're going to get out of the country. Okay. Exactly how hard is that to do? Well, story in front of me says, as election results unfolded and Vice President Kamala Harris struggled to reach the 270 electoral votes, which she never got anywhere near, by the way, Americans flocked to Google. Searches for moving to Canada spiked by 5,000%. Many are exploring immigration as a way to escape. But experts said relocation is complex, especially moving to a country like Canada. On election night, searches for immigrate to Canada began climbing around 8 p.m., with the trend peaking Wednesday morning, November 6th. The U.S.-Canadian border topped the list of relocation queries, but also interest for some other countries. New Zealand, United Kingdom. Boy, they go to New England and the United Kingdom, and they're going to find out what it's like to not have freedom. But anyway, reading on. And popular destination countries, as Canada, have complex immigration systems. Canada expresses their entry program with applicants to meet high standards of education and skills and language proficiency. Let's stop. Do that again. If you want to go to Canada, you have to have a high level of education. So if you have a high school diploma, no. You have to have a high level of education according to Canada, or some kind of a skill. A barista is not what they're talking about. And also, get this, language proficiency. So for those people who get upset because we want you to speak American, English, I know they have two languages up there in Canada, French and English, that you need to be proficient. The total base cost for a single person moving to Canada is estimated at $15,264, while a family of four will need about $27,603 base costs just to get through the immigration process. These figures cover funds and fees and applications. See, this is not the cost of your U-Haul. This is not the cost of your U-Haul. This is to cover the bureaucracy. You're going to need over $15,000 as an individual and over $27,000 for a family just to do the migration paperwork. Those lawyers to help you out typically cost around $3,600 U.S. So again, for those people, I'm just going to go move to Canada. Did you think you were just going to drive across the border? Canada has an application process, and you think America's application process is extensive. Where do you see the Canadian application process? The first thing they're going to ask you is about your criminal record, okay? How you plan to support yourself, any diseases you might have had. To fill out all of the paperwork for an individual will cost you over $15,000 plus lawyer's fees. And that's not even counting how much it's going to cost you to pack up and move, okay? You thought you were just going to go to Canada. And even after you've done all of that, that doesn't mean you're going to be approved. Oh, by the way, like I said, higher education standards, or you have to bring a skill. I'm a plumber. I'm an electrician, something like that. Or you're not going. And if that weren't bad enough, beyond Canada, countries in Latin America and Europe are also popular among Americans seeking a new home. In Mexico, Americans can stay free for up to 180 days. Resident visa applications have also jumped 70% in years. For remote workers, Panama, Costa Rica offer digital with visas with income requirements about $3,000 a month. Popular, you have to be making about $3,000 a month. Popular European destinations include Spain, Italy, also have digital nomad visas with similar income-based requirements. In Caribbean, investments-based citizenship programs offer routes for wealthier Americans with about $250,000 investment. You can go ahead and be a citizen of their country. Give them $250,000 and you are a citizen. Other countries like Portugal offer visa programs that provide a pathway to residency for retirees. Expert caution that costs and requirements vary widely by destination. They stress these moves require careful planning, income, job security, tax obligations. For those seriously considering Canada, it's helpful to know that their country's recent political leanings, like major urban centers in Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal, typically are very progressive. Alberta and Saskatchewan are very conservative. So in the face, the story says, of post-election stress, mental health professionals encourage Americans to explore coping strategies and just stay home. Because again, if you thought you were just going to pack up and go across the border. Now, if anyone wants to come to America under the Biden administration, just walk across the border and we'll give you a bunch of free stuff. You want to go to Canada? Routine rest and limit exposure to election coverage and talk shows like this one can be effective ways to reduce stress, according to one doctor that was interviewed for this story. I think what I liked most, this is a very good story, but I think what I like most about it, though, is, Troy Malone in Cheyenne says, try Australia if you want to see strict. I bet Rick in Cheyenne, does whiner constitute a skill? Well, now hang on. Wait. You got a good point there. Does a whiner constitute as a skill? Well, if you're good enough at it, you get your own talk show on MSNBC. Carrier Gal in Fort Collins, how about a GoFundMe? Yeah, I'll help them out with that. All right. Let's see. Big Red in Hawk Springs. Sounds like the suicide has been climbing in the last 2 days. I don't know. I'd like to find out. I-80 John says, can we put up a fence around Teton County and make them stay there? Like Escape from New York. You know something? All we have to do... Okay, here's a conspiracy theory that we can go ahead and put out there. I think that the reason... Remember that highway that collapsed during the course of the summer? And people in Teton County could not get in or out on that highway anyway. I think that was a test, just to see if we drop a few passes. I mean, think about it. In order to get in and out of Jackson Hole and Teton County, you have to drive through some narrow passes. I think that was just a test to go ahead and block those people in and just keep them there. And it would be much like Escape from New York. Gasper Jack says, with all the money we're going to be saving, if you want, we can always pass. Dan in Cheyenne says to me, if you want to go to Canada or Europe, shouldn't you be asking for asylum as a refugee? Oh, that's good. No, okay, hang on. You're on to something there. Because those on the left honestly believe that Trump has a hit list and he's coming to get them. So go with that. We're refugees. Trump is trying to kill us. And they'll be allowed across the border. Oh, good stuff, people. All right. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of. After local news, we're going to roll into a weather forecast and a nice long segment of open phones. It's 888-97-WOODS. That's 888-97-WOODS. And you can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. The people I've been responding to, they're texting me off the Wake Up Wyoming app. Just hit the chat option and you can do it too. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Monday.
Where Wyoming comes to talk. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS.
WOODS. That was a good one, Dirt Mom. Dirt Mom is in Riverton. She wants to know, how is Greg handling the outcome? Now, Greg, for those anyone who doesn't know, he is a friend of ours over in Laramie, Wyoming, and he's as far leftist as it gets for a Wyomingite, and that's pretty out there. So, Greg, we were expecting him to call in at some point and have something to say about the election, and at some point he will. But at the moment, Dirt Mom, I picture Greg is hiding under his bed, sucking his thumb. I just, there you go. But Greg, if you're not, you know the phone number, so go ahead and give us a try. Now, a couple of things that I'm still humoring myself with. It's okay to gloat a little bit. That's fine. So, I like the headline. It's going to suck, and that's a quote. It's going to suck. Climate world absorbs the reality that they're going to have Trump. This is really going to suck. He's just going to destroy the planet. All right. The story says the worst nightmare is now a burning reality. Climate diplomats and top-ranking activists on Wednesday struggled to project calm. Donald Trump is returning to the White House. A man who was ridiculed by those he's called a climate denier, promised to rip up any U.S. participation in the Paris Climate Accords and also vowed to drill, baby, drill and go after any other organic fuels, coal, gas, and all that we possibly can. So the morning of his victory, however, he saw a barrage of statements taking down Trump's likely impact on the plans to slow what they call greenhouse gas emissions. Quote, those investing in clean energy, which is not clean energy, are already enjoying huge wins in terms of jobs and wealth and cheaper security. Yeah, all based on taxpayer subsidies, but okay. This is because the global energy transition, which there really hasn't been much of one globally, is inevitable. No, it's not. Making it among the greatest economic opportunities of our age. No, it's not. It's driving countries broke. The challenge is that the world isn't moving quickly enough, they say, to present, even with all we've done, dangerous global warming. And by the way, nothing will ever be enough. Nothing will ever be enough to satisfy these people. Now, the next one. I love the meltdown. Climate activists spray U.S. Embassy in London with orange paint. Well, you know what that means, right? Gosh, they showed us with that, didn't they? Climate activists, United Kingdom, wasting no time in responding to President-elect Trump's re-election on Wednesday, spraying orange paint on a section of the U.S. Embassy in London. 2 members of the environmental group Just Stop Oil. So hang on. They used spray paint, which they would not be able to use without petroleum products. Just saying. Anyway, they covered the embassy's compound wall with orange paint, according to a video the group posted on social media. The video showed orange spray paint covering nearby plants. Oh, gosh, you're killing the plants too? But they absorb carbon. And dripping into a river. So the petroleum-based paint that they're spraying out of a spray can, right, is dripping on plants and dripping into the water supply. Way to go, guys. Quote, Trump win puts the lives of ordinary people at risk everywhere, the group said. Oh, okay. No, go ahead. Shows me that we're hitting all the right people with this. Let's see. Oh, this is good. Voters in Kamala Harris's hometown smacked down an initiative to end the use of natural gas. Voters in Berkeley, California, of all places, soundly rejected proposals that would have required owners of certain large buildings to pay a fee in order to use natural gas. The measure would have required owners of multifamily or commercial buildings larger than 15,000 square feet to pay up in order to use natural gas. It failed 68.25% of the voters. 68.25% of the voters said no. Wow. Environmentalists, you're not supposed to vote no. Environmentalists and labor union advocates say the measure, they wanted it on the grounds of reducing emissions from buildings. It's imperative to fight climate change. While opponents said it's in part because they view the proposal as new and costly tax, a way to get rid of certain restaurants and other businesses out there. They would have, I hadn't thought about that. You have restaurants, big restaurants cooking on natural gas. Would have directly affected about 600 buildings in Berkeley, according to the Daily Californian. Vice President Kamala Harris, who suffered that crushing defeat. I love saying that. According to New York Times, that's where she's from. Berkeley banned natural gas hookups in new construction buildings in 2019, a policy that liberal cities like Los Angeles and New York subsequently mimic. According to Bloomberg News, the California Restaurant Association challenged the Berkeley ban in court and a federal appeals court, and it was overturned in 2023. So not only can new buildings hook up to natural gas, but voters rejected the whole idea of taxing people in large buildings for using natural gas. So by over 68%, that's great. Blue Eyes in Douglas says, just shows you how violent the far left is. They blame violence on us, but we didn't do that just because they... What happened? Basically what she's saying is we didn't do that when they won. Chet and Yoder, Greg and Dave in Frisco are suffering severe TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, I bet, right? Dirt Mom in Riverton, hopefully it's not a fetal position sucking his thumb. Actually, that's exactly the way I pictured it. I pictured Greg in Laramie under his bed, probably with his teddy, bear, that is, in a fetal position, sucking his thumb, and expecting the world to come to an end any moment now because Trump won. Oh, hey, one more for you. For the cult of climate change crowd, just because I'm having fun tweaking them. Okay, here's a headline for you. According to world data, climate change is increasing crop yields. Future concern about running out of food is unwarranted. So once again, according to the actual data that's out there, more CO2 in the air and and yes, the climate has slightly, little bit warmed over the past over 100 years. It's not been a sudden warming lately. It's been a slight warming over a 100-year period, okay, which has nothing to do with us. But since there is more CO2 in the air and there has been some warming, and the two are not connected, by the way, crop yield is increasing by quite a bit. We are producing more crops than ever before. Just like those stories that I bring you about, the earth is getting greener. And even NASA comes out and says, as the earth is getting greener, it's because of CO2. Now, they have to throw that caveat in there, but, that the CO2 is causing catastrophic climate change, which it's not. But even NASA admits more CO2 in the air is causing us to green the planet. And most of that CO2, by the way, the vast majority of it does not even come from humans. All right. I got Frank coming up in just a couple of minutes. We get into the next hour of the program. Remember, it is open phones. A lot of people texted me over the Wake Up Wyoming app by using the chat options. You can certainly do that. Or you can call the program, 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. And it doesn't matter what I'm talking about. You can go ahead and change the subject. 845, it's Wake Up Wyoming.
Oh. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Got something to say? Chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app or call 888-97-WOODS.
8:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Back we go to Frank Gambino, who's on the phone now, because I guess you went over to watch some volleyball, huh, Frank?
Well, no, it was a late night last night, so I slept at the station. So I'm thinking to myself, this isn't such a bad deal. I mean, you wake up. I mean, you're already, you don't have to drive to work. You're at work. You just mosey on in. Then I'm thinking then I thought to myself, Glenn, how ridiculous is this? Uh-huh. You went to bed at work and you woke up at work. Uh-huh. It was like a bad dream.
So you decided just to go home.
I went home. Yes.
Okay. Well, Frank, we can go ahead because I know that the room that's your office, they basically turned into a massive storage unit at the same time. But if you would like us to clear that out, we can go ahead and just make that a big bedroom for you. There's already a kitchen and a bathroom right down the hall. If you just want to move in, we're okay with that.
Okay, and I think the rent will be better than my mortgage.
But hell yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking of moving into Tom's old office myself. He's got a nice couch in there.
That's where I slept last night. Yeah.
That's right.
I slept in there. Yeah.
I can name a couple of other better couches than that in the building, by the way. Okay. From my favorite Wyoming meme lady. I love following her on social media.
Okay.
She posts, "Can we stop building new Dollar Generals and just unpack the ones we've got?"
True. That is very
true.
Okay.
I cannot possibly argue with that. If you could see yourself through my eyes, you'd be amazing how blurry you were. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you are full of love, it confuses people who are full of blank. That's a good one. Really. You see why I follow this lady?
It's very astute. Yes.
Oh yes. Now this is good. I love this one. I saw this one earlier this week. I love this one. I just cleared out some space in the freezer. It sounds like I'm much more productive than I really am. Translation: I just polished off another pint of ice cream. So you see, that's why I follow this woman. Go with sports.
All righty. The high school football playoffs will continue to start today with the semifinal round. In Class 4A, Cheyenne East at 8-2 will be at 9-1 Campbell County at 6 p.m. And then the other 4A semifinal coming up tomorrow afternoon will have number 1 Sheridan at 10-0 taking on Natrona, who comes in at 7-3. That is a 1 p.m. kickoff from Sheridan. In Class 3A, Tonight, Riverton will be at Star Valley. Star Valley is 10-0 and the defending state champions. That'll be a 6 p.m. start. And then Cody at 8-1 will be at Douglas, who comes in at 7-2. That's a 6 o'clock start over in Commerce County. In Class 2A, Cokeville will be at Mountain View. Mountain View is 9-1, and Cokeville is 6-3. And Lovell will be at Bighorn today, this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Bighorn, the defending champions, they are 9-0 on the year, and Lovell comes in at 7-2. In 1A 9-man, Saratoga will be at Pine Bluffs later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Pine is 8-1, and Saratoga is 6-3. And Lingo Fort Laramie will play their semifinal round game tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m., and they will host Big Piney. LFL is 9-0, and Big Piney is 5-3. In 1A 6-man, Du Bois will be at Snake River this afternoon. LSR is 8-0, and Du Bois is 5-3. And then Encampment will be at Burlington, and then both of those teams are 7-1. Those state championship football games will be next week in Laramie. And the state high school volleyball tournament will have consolation round play starting at 1 o'clock, and the semifinal matches are at 4:30. In 4A, Laramie and Kelly Walsh, both the number one seeds, have made the semifinal round. Kelly Walsh will take on Thunder Basin at 4:30. And then Laramie, who is the defending champion, they will play Sheridan at 6:30 or 6 o'clock or whatever, right after that, with those championship matches in the state volleyball tournament coming up. That'll be tomorrow at 4:30, and then tomorrow there'll be a consolation round play again. Natrona is in this consolation round this afternoon against Green River at 2:30, and Cheyenne East is also in the consolation round this afternoon at 1 p.m., and they will take on Star Valley. Also, the state 3A girls swimming championships will conclude today. The finals will start right at 10 o'clock in the morning. That'll take a couple of hours, and then they'll go right into the preliminary round of the 4A girls, and then the 4A girls championship races will be tomorrow. And all those events for the state girls swimming meet will be at Cheyenne East High School. And that's it in sports.
So Cheyenne East High School, and then and you told me that they just kind of rotate out that all day long. So that pool is going to be busy all day long.
Oh yeah, they parade all these people in. They parade them out. They parade the next group in. Today's the day where there's a lot of people. So you have both classes will be there back to back. So
I was going to say, here's how I would handle it. I would
very enthusiastic.
I would make the kids jump in on one side of the pool. When they get to the other side of the pool, announce the winner and bring the next group in to do the same thing. Just move them through. South end of the pool to the north.
Works.
9:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Friday. I'm glad you made it. And phone lines are open. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about. You can change the subject if you want. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. My name is Glenn Woods. So I was going to try to do this delicately. And then I decided, it's not. If I try to make this delicate, it's not going to work. So I'm just going to out with it, okay? Headline: liberal women, keep that in mind, liberal women, announce a 4-year sex strike if you voted for Trump. You're just not with them, you're not. Gosh, really? You mean I'm stuck with the conservative women? Oh, golly, gosh. Liberal women have sworn to God. Now, I wonder how many of these liberal women, by the way. It's okay. Look, liberal women, you got the liberal guys who voted for Trump. But, I'm sorry, they didn't want to have sex with you either because they're interested in the other liberal men. But, okay, that's another story. Liberal women have sworn to go on a 4-year sex strike to punish men for voting for Trump and exercise sovereignty over their bodies. Quote, Mr. Trump swept into victory Tuesday presidential race that Democrats cast a referendum on abortion rights and et cetera. And some women are now threatening to punish men for voting for. By the way, what Trump did, we already know this, but let's put it out there again. He put some justices on the Supreme Court, and those justices, not Trump, decided to turn the abortion issue back to the states where it belongs. So the idea Trump banned abortion. No, was abortion banned in your state? That's different. You don't have to live in the state that has an abortion ban. Some states, it's a free-for-all on abortion. Other states have restrictions. Depends on where you want to live. And the idea that Trump wants to do a national ban on abortion, no, he doesn't, nor can he. But all right. Some women, inspired from a Korean feminist movement that vows to withhold sex in order to redefine the gender power balance. Interest in the 4B movement spiked since Kamala Harris' defeat, with women sharing videos of themselves on social media, pledging to commit to a 4-year no sex, no dating or marriage or having children with men for the next 4 years. Now, before I go on, I can believe that some of these women can do this, but nobody wanted to hook up with them anyway. Other women say they're going to do this, but I don't think they're going to last. In one video shared on TikTok, a young woman pledged to go celibate and encourage others to delete dating apps. Quote, as a woman, my body's autonomy matters to me, and it's my way to exercise sovereignty over that, she said. So I highly encourage any other women who are single and still care about progressing women's rights and still fighting for our body's autonomy to do the same. Delete those dating apps. The woman, by the way, there's, guys, there's conservative men. There are conservative dating apps out there, so we're good. Okay, anyway. Women also encourage others to seek their female friends for comfort if you need someone to cuddle with. Now, this is where it gets kind of creepy, and describes the 4B movement, the number 4B, which originated in South Korea as a point of inspiration. U.S. election revealed the gender divide in the electorate. 55% of men turning out for Trump and 53%. And by the way, this is what also gets me. When we look at who these women are saying, well, we're just going to go celibate, you can't have us for. It turns out that Trump broke a lot of barriers in this election. This is how he got the majority. As the numbers start to come in, it really is boggling the minds of liberals as to who voted for Trump. The majority of Latinos voted for Trump. Democrats still got the majority of the black vote, but a huge number of black Americans voted for Trump, more than's ever voted for a Republican president before. Women, the majority of women voted for Trump. Now, yes, if we want to break it down, suburban white women who normally go Democrat, the last number I saw was 51% went for Trump. But women in general, about 53% so far, it shows, voted for Trump. Now, again, this is early breakdown of numbers, so as we get more numbers in, we'll be able to see exactly how all of this panned out. But for those women that say, we're going to hold back, guys, don't worry. According to the data here, there are plenty of women who voted for Trump, and they just might want to get with you because you voted for Trump too. See, Red is in Casper. Seems like a win for pro-life. Well, now here's what it says to me, Red. If you really want to get rid of a lot of the leftists that are out there, I think the best way to do that is to find a way that so they don't breed, right? Well, in this way, they are voluntarily not breeding. You see how good that is for the country? Okay. It's like those members of the cult of climate change. Well, for the good of the planet, we're not going to have any more kids. Hot damn. Morning, Paul. Firebit Paul's out there. How are liberal women going to keep up support for abortion clinics if they don't keep having sex? Well, yeah. Tess and Wheatland, you mean they, them. Tess, you were on a roll today. Tess writes, you mean they, them went on a sex strike? Jim in Laramie says, I don't see this as punishment. I love you guys. I don't see this as punishment. I wouldn't want to sleep with a liberal woman anyway. And this is where I say, oh, by the way, here's, of all things, Kyle in Manville, which is just perfect that someone from Manville shows a picture of a picture of Joe Biden asking, did I win? Yes, Joe, you did. Now go have some ice cream. Okay, so I think the majority of you are with me on this. I think this is, look at this, WL in Crowheart. Awesome, no liberal reproduction for 4 years. That's what I'm talking about. We wanted a way to reduce their numbers. But, of course, we're not going to go out there and actually commit violence or anything like that. We don't want anything like that, no. But if they say they're not going to have sex and they're not going to have kids, they're not going to procreate to save the planet from climate change, then good. That's less of the cult of climate change that we have to deal with. And if these are these liberal women, well, you voted for Trump, so I'm not going to. Good. Please don't. And if you're not breeding for the next 4 years, that is definitely good for America, honestly. An obscure, largely online branch of Korean feminists, the 4B movement, stated in the mid-2010s, around the same time as the Me Too movement, in response to a wave of reports about violence toward women. That's what started the whole thing. All right, Mike in Laramie on abortion. Hello, Mike. Oh, I missed him. Okay, that's okay. I tell you what, Mike, I know I was sort of rambling and reading some of those other messages for a while. If you want to try back, here's what's going to happen. Oops, sorry, says Miss Mary. That's okay. Although the buzzing did kind of go right through one ear and out the other. But I tell you what, Mike, we're going to take a little bit of a break here, information break, if you will. And then I'll come back and start taking calls. So 888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. 9:15 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I love you people. So let's go. First off, Mike, if you want to try back, 888-97 Woods the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. And anybody else who wants to call in, you can go ahead and do that. And change the subject if you want to. So real quick, the last story I was on, liberal women are announcing a 4-year sex strike. If you voted for Trump, not with you, they're not. No, they're being celibate for 4 years. Responses, blue eyes from Douglas, yay, no more googly-eyed babies. Reaper and Carpenter, this is great news. Stupid people breed stupid kids. That's okay. And WL and Crowheart, awesome. No liberal production for 4 years. And Red and Casper, it seems like a win for pro-life. So you see. Now, Chet in Yoder actually has more of a serious point. Let me expand this out so I can read it all, Chet, because I think this is actually pretty good. And some people should listen to this, although they won't. Chet says, the news is very entertaining and I can't stay away from it. They don't realize they just experienced a tyrannical government and they think Trump is the dictator. EV mandates, wear a mask, get a vaccination, shut down power station, eat bugs, change your sex, and so on and so on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you don't do what we tell you, you might lose your job. You'll get canceled. You got to say what's approved to be said, or it's going to not be. Well, if you put something on social media, for example, social media won't let anyone else see it. They might even block your account because you said something that they disagree with. And yet they worry that Trump is going to be the dictator. So, all right, if that's the way you want to do it. Now, earlier this morning, I was putting together other universities with the University of Wyoming. And I wanted those of you who get up later in the day to hear this, too. This is from Cowboy State Daily. I think this is a very good story that they put out. This is from Claire McFarland. So, good story, Claire. And she writes, at the University of Washington School of Social Work, there is a School of Social Work. Students were invited Wednesday to an election care. Yes, if you had trouble with this past election, you can join us at election care. Featuring puzzles, crafts, food, and a dog to pet. Oh. major universities that's trying to help kids cope. And I say kids because they're not college students. They're not young adults. If they're getting this, they're kids. They never matured. University of Colorado Boulder invited its students to write poetry. Did Donald Trump's election upset you? You would sit down and write poetry, color in a coloring book, drink tea, enjoy aromatherapy, and slime making like you did in kindergarten. Georgetown University, McCormick School of Public Policy, opened up a Lego station for frazzled students. So, yeah, let's go play Legos and let's draw in coloring books and pet puppies and stuff like this. This is what they're asking them to do because these people just have completely freaked out over the idea that we might actually have a President Trump. Meanwhile, University of Wyoming has seen none of that. University of Wyoming has seen none of that. Interview with Cowboy State Daily. I am not aware of anything of this nature happening at UW, said Chad Baldwin, University spokesperson to Cowboy State Daily. Now, there are some student groups out there who offered at UW, hey, we want to sit down and talk about it? And by talk about it, let's get liberals and conservatives and libertarians and whatever groups together. We can sit down like adults and discuss what just happened in the election, if you want to do that. But there's really nothing going on the UW campus. Everybody's just going back to class. And when I talked about this earlier this morning, I even brought up the idea that if we were to go over to any school that teaches a skill, plumbing, carpentry work, mechanic, whatever the case is, go to a vocational school. After the election, everybody just got up and went back to class. That's it. Nobody was sitting there having mental breakdowns and I'm not going to have sex with you because you voted for Trump. No one's doing that. They just got back to work. They got busy. There you go. Now, one group at UW has invited student groups ranging from every political point of view, again, to sit down and have a nice discussion like adults, but that was it. There really isn't, as I read through the story from Cowboy State Daily, there are some people who didn't like the election outcome at UW. They're on social media, and they let their opinion be heard and known on social media, but the next day they were back in class. And they weren't going, in fact, I even have a story here. Let me scroll down to it. Yeah. Ivy League professors cancel classes so students can process Trump's shocking win. Now, I know about you. When Biden was elected, I went to work the next day. Now, of course, I'm a talk show host, but did you? I bet you did. After Biden was elected, I mean, you kicked and cussed and complained, and then the next day you got up and you went back to work, right? Okay. I bet you did the same thing when Obama was elected. You just got up and you went back to work the next day, right? I mean, you complained about it, but then the next day you were right back to doing what you were doing before because that's your life. That's what you got to. It's called adulting. This is what you have to do. So for those people who are, and we talked about this before, remember safe spaces? This is a few years back. Safe spaces at universities. Remember those? Now, not a whole lot of students took advantage of them, but they were there. You want to go sit there and play with stuffed animals and color in the coloring book? We have safe spaces for you. And people are not allowed to say offensive things there. Now, how are you supposed to handle real life? I mean, and I'm really being honest about it. How the hell are you supposed to handle real life if every time something happens that you don't like, you're going to go to your safe space instead of getting out there and handling it? If anything, I would like to see these Ivy League universities that cancel class. I would instead have liked to have their professors reiterate to the students, yeah, I know you didn't like the way the election turned out. By the way, your butt needs to be in class tomorrow, and we're having a pop quiz, so get there. I don't care what your feelings are. You need to get back to work, so get to class tomorrow. That's what they should have done, which even reminds me of when I was much younger. I remember doing this when I was younger. Fall down, scrape my knee, blood, it hurts, ouch. I get up. I'm a little kid, so there's a tear rolling down the face. I'm a little kid. And my mom looks at me and go, okay, you all right? Walk it off. You're good? Okay, get back in there. That's what my mom did. Glad she did, too. All right, let's not coddle these little... No, don't coddle them. Just honestly, get back in there, no matter what happened, whether you like it or not. Coming up on 9:30, local news coming your way after local news update on your weather forecast, and you and I will get back into it again with another segment, and it is open phones. Besides you sending me notes off the Wake Up Wyoming app, which of course you're allowed to do, by hitting the chat option, you can call into the program. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. I'm in Cheyenne, Wyoming today. And snowing coming down pretty good. Oh, Miss Mary, how's it up there in Casper? Because I know that your weather up there is not going to be what I'm getting down here. All right, real quick, I want to pick on one particular newspaper up there. The Washington Post is that newspaper that was, what was it? Was it Zuckerberg? Who was it that was that bought up, the billionaire that bought up the Washington Post? And he's a liberal, the guy who did it. And right away he said, we're going to be more balanced because Washington Post is hemorrhaging readers. We're going to be more balanced. Oh, Miss Mary says in Casper, it's a little cold but sunny. All right, here it is overcast and snow's coming down pretty good. And that's a reflection of the real weather they're getting down there in Colorado. But all right, so with the Washington Post, a lot of people quit. They got rid of a lot of people as well because, again, they're hemorrhaging readers. And so their new billionaire owner said, who's a liberal, you're going to provide balanced journalism. Oh, they hated that. Now they're really going to hate this. Washington Post CEO is not winning fans. There's a fresh memo that just came out, which says to the staff, you're all going to have to start showing up at work. Because people have been working remotely. People have been working from home. It says here, some jobs can be done remotely. Fine. But journalism is a mashup of both types of work. Some remote, some you got to be there for. So, in this case, during COVID, Washington Post said you can work from home. And it didn't really change after that. Washington Post is in crisis mode right now, again, as they hemorrhage readership, especially after the way they've gone after not just Trump, but conservatives in general. And the new owner, the billionaire, is saying that's enough. Story here says they've been acting like entitled little brats at their newspaper. Readership collapses. Their content has become even more spotty. Their business model is failing. And it used to be a major newspaper, not just in Washington, but in this country. Story says, frankly, losing the whiners would be a blessing, and it is much easier to deal with when you don't have to do buyouts or face lawsuits or any of those other things. Just tell the people they actually have to show up for work and watch them quit. This author says, my guess is the CEO at the paper would love for there to be a mass exodus of the most self-important journalists who believe they are too important to have the boss tell them what to do. They can't deal with the paper declining especially after Harris lost there. Well, don't let the door hit you on the way out. So he says, I would have brought the hammer down a long time ago. This author would have, considering how dysfunctional. It was Jeff Bezos. That's who. Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post. And he's the one of the first things he did was that we are going to be more balanced. No more of this far left-leaning journalism. We are going to be balanced. And that's what drove them absolutely insane. there was a revolt at the Washington Post, and some did leave. In fact, some main editors left after you are going to be more balanced. And a big part of that is the number of readers that have just dropped the Washington Post and walked away saying, forget this, not doing it anymore. And the same thing goes, I want to see what the ratings are. I know after this past election, I know that we did have a lot of ratings for Fox News. It was real. Fox News ratings were through the roof. And you can see with the election results that had, I think, some kind of an impact, that Fox News ratings were so high. I really cannot wait to see what were the ratings during election night. I hadn't think about this till just now. For the other former news networks like CNN and MSNBC. Washington Post also has not so much a cable news network, but they do have a little cable thing going where you can go ahead and watch some news from the Washington Post. But there's other news organizations out there. How well did they do? And after the election, did they start losing people as well? I'd really like to know what those numbers are. In other words, where are people going now for their information? So to more balanced news outlets, the few that there are, and more conservative news outlets, I would say to you, and especially to the Republican Party right about now, don't blow it. A good chunk of the country just moved over to you guys. Don't blow it. Be honest. Okay, when Trump does something you don't like, report it. Okay, if he blows it on something, report it as it is. In other words, don't take sides. Report the news as it is. Be brutally honest about the news as it is. Don't be a left-leaning or a right-leaning news organization. Be a news organization. That's what these folks really need to focus on. And Washington Post, this is sink or swim time for them because they have hemorrhaged within this past year. Think about this. A couple hundred thousand readers within just this past year. So the newspaper really is in sink or swim mode. And it was Jeff Bezos, a liberal, who bought up the newspaper and said, okay, we're going to fix this. So I have no idea if he's going to be able to or not. We're just going to have to wait and see. He's got a very short period of time. There's a short window to fix this before the whole newspaper goes bankrupt. And that's not the only one. All right, coming up on some local business we have to take care of, and in one last chat with Frank Gambino, who, when he's done, is going to roll over on his sofa and fall asleep for a little while. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Frank Gambino, who's probably lounging on his couch at home, and as soon as he's done with this phone call, he's going to roll over and take a nap.
How did you know that?
I just kind of figured that you went home. That's probably what especially because you need some sleep.
Yes.
Okay.
You were absolutely correct.
So I came across this social media page, which I hate, but Frank, I think you'll enjoy it. Okay. I hate puns. I really do. This one.
I hate memes, and you hate puns.
Yes. This one is homegrown puns. GROAN puns. Get it? Homegrown. Yeah, exactly. Someone said when a short person waves at you, it's called a microwave.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Maybe I don't like puns either.
My chiropractor feels down and out occasionally, but he always snaps back. See? How bad is that? I want to grow my own food, but I can't find bacon seeds. That I agree with.
Yes. Bacon grows on trees.
Yes, okay. I thought it was my lucky day when I went to Jersey Mike's and found Danny DeVito there. I got him to sign my sub, but discovered it was completely illegible. I think he signed it in shorthand because he's short.
Boy.
Bird Watchers Club meeting was running long, and some members had to duck out early.
Do you have any more, or can we stop?
Can we? Well, let me see now. No, I got a couple more minutes to kill. I went to a wake that was so boring the guest of honor was asleep. Now that's just horrible. That's not even funny. Who put that in there? I just picked up some fluorescent markers. It was the highlight of my day. Oh, you see, this is why I hate these people, Frank. I tried to read the dictionary in bed last night, didn't finish it. Got up to pee. See? Get it? Got up to pee. Okay. Now, do you understand now why I completely hate puns?
I'm groaning about them now. Please stop. Please.
Go with sports.
Unless there's one more.
There's no more. I just clicked out. I'm never going back.
Thank you.
Okay. Go with sports.
All righty. The state high school volleyball tournament resumes this afternoon with the consolation round, and the semifinal round will be starting at 4:30 tonight at the Ford Center in Casper. In 4A, Kelly Walsh against Thunder Basin in one semifinal in 4A, with defending champion Laramie meeting Sheridan in the other at 6 p.m. Cheyenne East will take on Star Valley in the consolation round at 1, and Green River will beat Natrona at 2:30. In 3A, it'll be Cody and Wheatland in one semifinal at 4:30, and Douglas will take on Powell at 6 p.m. in the other semifinal. In 2A, Sundance versus Tongue River at 4:30 in a semifinal round match, and then Pine Bluffs against defending champion Bighorn at 6 p.m. And then in 1A, Little Snake River will take on Upton at 4:30 in a semifinal round match. Defending champion Cokeville will take on Southeast at 6. The championship matches for the state high school volleyball tournament will be tomorrow beginning at 4:30. There'll also be consolation round play during the morning and in the afternoon. In high school football, it's the semifinal round of the playoffs. In Class 4A, Cheyenne East at 8-2 will be at Campbell County tonight, and Campbell County comes in at 9-1. Sheridan, the defending champions at 10-0, will host Natrona tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. NC comes in at 7-3. Sheridan is 10-0. In 3A, Cody will be at Douglas tonight at 6 p.m. Cody is 8-1. Douglas is 7-2. Riverton travels to Afton to meet Star Valley at 6 p.m. tonight. Star Valley is the defending champions in 3A. They're 10-0, and Riverton is 8-2. In 2A, the defending champion Bighorn will be at home this afternoon at 4 o'clock to meet Lovell. Bighorn is 9-0, and Lovell is 7-2. Mountain View will have a matinee game this afternoon, taking on Cokeville, and Mountain View is 9-1. Cokeville is 6-3. In 1A 9-man, Saratoga will be visiting Pine Bluffs this afternoon at 4 p.m. Pine is 8-1, and Saratoga is 6-3. Undefeated Lingo Fort Laramie will have their playoff game tomorrow at 1 p.m. hosting Big Piney. Lingo Fort Laramie is 9-0, and Big Piney is 5-3. And in 1A 6-man, Little Snake River this afternoon at 8-0 will take on DuBois. Little Snake is 8-0, and DuBois is 5-3. And then the other 1A 6-man semifinal will have Encampment traveling to Burlington. Both teams are 7-1. The state championship games in high school football will be next week at War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. And coming up in a few minutes, the state 3A girls championship round of the girls swimming will begin. So they'll be handing out medals starting at 10 a.m. And then once that is over, then the 4A preliminary round for the girls swimming will begin. And then tomorrow will be the championship round for 4A girls swimming. That all those events in girls swimming will be held at Cheyenne East High School. And that's it in sports. Have a great weekend and be safe. So I guess it's snowing at Fort Collins.
It is. It's snowing here right now in Cheyenne.
Ooh.
It's nice where you are. So after your nap, you planning to get out and go into some of these sporting events this weekend?
I'm going to go do volleyball today and volleyball tomorrow.
All right. So, hang up the phone, roll over, and go sleep.
All right. Talk to you later.
The rest of you have a great weekend. It's Wake Up Wyoming.